Welcome to Human Marketing, a weekly podcast for B2B marketers, unpacking how brands can stay authentic, demonstrate authority, and build trust as AI floods our feeds with content. I'm Chris Nelson, founder of Human Video. We remotely produce podcasts and other video content with real humans and just the right amount of soul. I've been very excited about this episode because I'm really pleased to welcome Ryan James, who's the CEO of Rocket SaaS. Welcome, Ryan.
Hello, great to be here. Excited to be here too. Big fan of the pod.
Okay, thank you. I first discovered you, Ryan, through your podcast, the SaaS Marketing Weekly, and you also have a great email of the same name, email newsletter. But like back then, I was kind of just everything it was like you just kind of appearing in your podcast and your own, just kind of riffing on all the kind of demand gen greatness that you were doing, and just like installing all this stuff that was really aligned with like how I try to go about things. And I've been on that whole journey with you. It's been great to kind of finally get in touch with you and then meet you in person recently at SaaS in Dublin, which was great. By way of intro, Ryan, can you just tell me a little bit about the story of Rocket SaaS, like how it all started and just the kind of journey up to the present day, which I know is an amazing journey of growth.
Oh, thank you. I'm not usually great at receiving compliments, but I enjoyed that. Thank you. I'll try not blab on the old founder story, but yeah, the company is about, I think it's 13 years old now. And yeah, been on quite a journey. I had about 8 years of not a lot happening. I was started as a freelance website designer. Then I wanted to land bigger clients. So I started a website design agency. And then I just kind of treaded water for probably like 7-8 years, mainly because I didn't pick a niche. That was my problem. I was doing website design development for any industry, like recruitment companies, tech companies, pubs, restaurants, anybody. And as I'm sure we'll probably get into today, like the power of niching is really critical. So yeah, struggled to scale the business, nearly went out of business once. I remember my girlfriend at the time said to me, "Why don't you just quit this and get a proper job?" So I broke up with her the following day and then just cracked on. Can't have an unsupporting partner. And then a few years later decided to niche. So I thought, right, this whole website thing, it's not working. I did a course by a guy called Daniel Priestley. Some of your listeners may recognize his name. And one of the main lessons on the course was you must niche. You cannot boil the ocean here. So I picked my favorite industry at the time, some of my favorite clients, best paying clients who were in B2B SaaS. So I was like, right, I'm niching into B2B SaaS. So I niched so hard. I changed the name of the company to Rocket SaaS. I changed the brand. I changed the website. It was basically starting a new business. I sort of niched so hard. And that is when growth really started. So that was in 2021. And then about 2 years later, we were still a website design agency for SaaS companies. But I could tell that the business was about to start plateauing because there was just no recurring revenue in the business, or very, very little. So I was like, I want some proper recurring revenue here. So I pivoted into a marketing agency. So we now do LinkedIn ads, Google ads, website optimization, building lead magnet campaigns, content marketing, demand generation strategy, all that stuff that our clients need on a monthly regular basis. So now the business is subscriptions. Getting that MRR coming in, and that's just unlocked massive growth. It's taken us a couple of years to figure out how to become a decent marketing agency, but now we are, and we've had massive growth. Actually had 100% growth this year. So we started the year on 120K MRR, and we're going to finish the year on 250K MRR. So no, it's been an amazing journey. It's been hard work, long old slog, as you know, but things are really paying off now, and it's great.
That's awesome. It's super inspirational for me, Ryan. Like I've kind of asked you a couple of questions around this world over LinkedIn in the past, just because I guess we're dealing with similar audiences. You're kind of bootstrapping an agency, and I'm doing the same thing. Although I'm at I'm like sort of year one of my journey, I guess. But also like it really resonates for me because I was 15 years a commercial filmmaker. I was kind of working job to job. There was no recurring revenue. It was a real roller coaster. And like a big part of starting my new company was exactly the same thing. I really wanted to build something with a recurring revenue. We now, exclusively work on kind of monthly content subscriptions. So like it's kind of really inspirational, really great to hear that. Also, 27 years ago, Ryan, my first job was as a web designer at like
Okay.
the dawn of the internet, just to age myself, So there's
So
a
what
slight
tools,
connection.
what code and software were
Oh
you using
man,
back
it
then? Do you
was
remember?
when it was like Netscape and
Front
I can't
page,
remember. Front page, yeah, but just a lot of manual coding as
Dreamweaver.
well. Like Dreamweaver, that's what I was trying to think
Yeah,
of. Yeah,
old
yeah.
school.
Which then got bought by somebody else, but it was but Dreamweaver was the first thing. It was like
Good
visually
times.
creating 100%.
Yeah, I
Yes.
remember. Yeah, being in my parents' house in the attic with the back when like the household had just like one PC you had to share with your brothers and sisters. So
Yeah,
yeah,
and no one could pick up the phone,
oh yeah,
and you'd lose the internet connection.
yeah, I forgot about that. It was crazy. Yeah,
People don't realize the struggle, man. Yeah,
yeah.
like really quick story. My story was I did mechanical engineering at the local kind of big university, and I hated it. And literally after a few months, I spent every day in what they call an open access center, was where like you had computers connected permanently to the internet on quite a fast connection for the day, and that was me. I just like learnt how to develop websites, and people started paying me money to do that. And that was the end of my university career very quickly, Ryan. And I was self-employed for the past 27 years after that. So very, very cool. And just to like dive into something we've already mentioned, but I'd love to talk about it kind of in more depth first, is the podcast. Like it's how I first discovered you, but I feel like it's been on a real journey. But from talking to you, and also know that it's just been really instrumental as a kind of a demand gen engine for your company and for kind of building your personal brand, I guess, as well. But tell me a little bit about like like, had you done that before? Did you know that was something going to be a big thing for you? And just like the journey of the podcast from what was initially just you kind of appearing like this and, chatting about stuff, to now you have, you go to a studio and you have guests, and so it's great. Tell me about the journey.
Yeah, the podcast has been amazing for multiple reasons. I would say that the immediate thing that springs to mind is the whole way that it plays into demand generation, and that whole like being able to create top of funnel educational content that people want to consume, and they don't feel like they're being sold to. And then we can nurture those people to then go on to work with us. So one of the best things I did was I created a new brand for it. So my company is called Rocket SaaS. And I think if I called the podcast like the Rocket SaaS podcast, I don't think I'd get anywhere near the engagement that I do, because it's just like a company name. This is a company that's going to try and sell to me. So I created a sub brand. It's got its own website. It's got its own logo. It's got its own name. There's a little bit at the bottom that says by Rocket SaaS, but in all intents and purposes, it's SaaS Marketing Weekly. So even the name, it sounds friendly. It sounds, I want to engage with this. These guys aren't going to try and sell to me. I'm a SaaS marketer. It's called SaaS Marketing Weekly. I'm going to learn from it. So that's massively helped the kind of barrier to engagement that a lot of companies get, because people just, they're clever. If I'm going to sign up to that, you're just going to try and sell to me. No, thanks. So having a sub brand is really, really powerful. So I'd recommend that pretty much to any business that's thinking about starting a podcast, is give it a separate brand. And it's not that hard. You just need a logo and a single page website. So that's been brilliant. And then the other thing that's been really fantastic about the podcast is not even the podcast itself. It's actually the repurposing of content. So when I do a podcast episode that I do every week, that podcast, we've now got, it's taken a while to kind of build this, but we've now got a really slick system in place where I do a weekly podcast, and then that gets turned into a weekly newsletter. It gets turned into at least 5 LinkedIn posts per week. The best performing podcast gets turned into a monthly ebook. The best performing podcast also gets turned into a monthly webinar. The best webinar gets turned into an annual summit. There's also a quarterly breakfast event in there that I just missed. And then we basically run that play every single week. So I think a lot of businesses, if you were to ask like the marketer or the founder of the business, like what's one of the reasons why your business is not scaling with marketing, a lot of people will say to you, oh, we're just not in a rhythm. We just not got consistency. We're creating content when we've got the time, when we feel like it. Like we do a webinar every now and then, and we've done a few little blogs here and there, but then we ran out of time and just didn't have the resource. It's just such a common story. Whereas now that my business is just in that rhythm, like it just happens every single week we do this. Like we're obviously coming to the end of the year now, and we've not missed a beat. You know, we've not missed a single week with the podcast, the newsletter, the blog, the LinkedIn post, the webinars, the breakfast events. They've just happened. And we've got a really cool system in place. Obviously, you've got AI that can support you with all of that stuff as well. And the beauty of it, you know, coming back to AI, is that that's another thing that businesses are doing wrong with content, is that it's just AI slop. You know, they create blogs and guides and ebooks and whatever, but it's just, you know, AI crap. Whereas all of our content, it starts with the pod, meaning it starts with thought leadership, because it's someone like me or a guest, you know, a guest, someone like yourself comes on. So it's unique, it's genuine, it's real, it may be a controversial opinion. And then we use AI to kind of amplify the message and repurpose, but the core, the kind of seed, or even the prompt, you could say, is pure kind of thought leadership. So that's been brilliant. I haven't even talked about the actual podcast itself yet. So that's been fantastic. But yeah, the actual podcast, it's just another way of hitting people in how they like to consume content, because everybody's different. So my colleague, for example, Jamie, my head of strategy, he doesn't like listening to podcasts. He likes consuming long form articles. And when he told me that in the office, I was like, you like reading long form articles? Like, God, it's not very modern, are you? I can't read a long form article. I haven't got the attention span. I like listening to podcasts, but you know, we're just different people. Some people like articles. Some people like reading, say, guides. Some people like attending webinars. Some people like listening to podcasts. So, you know, you can't hit people with one content angle, because people are different. They like consuming content in different ways. And there's a lot of people out there that much prefer consuming podcasts because they like to, you know, be on the move or whatever. So you're just opening up like a new audience of people to you, because you can do as many blogs as you want. A lot of people, like me personally, I don't want to read them. So you're just, you know, opening up this new angle. And then also with the podcast comes video, which is obviously your expertise. So, yeah, that's one thing I forgot to mention when I talked about repurposing content from the pod. I totally forgot to mention we clip the videos. So some podcasts I record in my spare bedroom at home. So I don't actually do video, I just do audio. But at least once a month, we go into a studio. There's a brilliant studio in London Bridge called Outset Studio. So we rent that. It's not that expensive. And then from that, each episode, we get multiple 60 to 90 second podcast clips. And that does brilliantly on LinkedIn. So we pump that out with LinkedIn ads, LinkedIn thought leader ads. So people just start to not just hear us, but they get to see us. They get to just recognize us, go, oh, these guys know what they're talking about when it comes to SaaS marketing. I'm looking for a SaaS marketing agency. I know exactly who I want to speak to. So that's the whole kind of like demand gen thing happening. So yeah, the podcast has been absolutely amazing for just multiple different reasons. You know, it's so much more than just a podcast because of the repurposing that comes off the back of it.
Amazing. Like you hit so many points of the things that I like recommend to our customers, and the whole concept of maybe getting into the, you know, having their own podcast. Even like the video thing's really interesting, because I see quite a lot of people that I'm kind of talking to at the moment, they have like a really successful audio podcast for their business, you know, and audio only, and they're kind of just missing that whole layer of video repurposing, and even just making use of YouTube, you know. And like I can see that's been brilliant. And actually I've seen, you know, the studio stuff popping up, and it's how well it's been received as well. So like that's amazing. And do you find, like for your personal brand, like quite often I hear people that are hosting their own podcasts, it does give them, you know, make them kind of known, and like when they go to events and things like that. Has anyone ever stopped you and said, you're Ryan from the SaaS Marketing Weekly podcast?
Yeah, it has happened for the first time relatively recently. Yeah. So when I went to SaaS Stock, when I met you in person for the first time, we've obviously been connected for a while. It was nice to meet you in person for the first time.
It was great.
But yeah, I had multiple people come up to me at SaaS Stock saying that they recognized me from the podcast and the personal brand and LinkedIn. So that was a bit weird, but no, that felt good. So yeah, I mean, personal branding is huge. So I think if you ask me, like, what was the most impactful thing that I did to scale my business, particularly in the kind of relatively early stages of growth, is definitely the personal brand. And because it's just the lowest budget way to scale a business at the early stages, when you don't have a big ad spend budget. You know, when I was going through those early stages of growth, I didn't have $3,000-5,000 a month to spend on LinkedIn ads. I had basically nothing. But what I could do was create organic content from myself, because particularly on LinkedIn, People buy from people. People don't buy from brands. So, I'm so sort of grateful that I put effort into my personal brand as opposed to doing a load of posts from my company account, which, as most people should know by now, doing posts from the company account, particularly for startups that don't have big brand awareness, it's borderline worthless when it comes to like lead generation and revenue building, because people just don't care about company posts. But when you put a person behind it, and it's your personal brand, ideally one of the founders or execs in the business, suddenly that human side of it just resonates with people, and you can start to build networks and relationships and just engage with other people, and that's been an absolutely pivotal part in my kind of growth journey. Now that we're a bit bigger, we're sort of, it's not so critical as many other things, and we do have a big marketing budget that we can do other stuff with LinkedIn ads, but certainly that like first getting up to the first like 1 million revenue, it was absolutely critical.
I hear you, and I'm absolutely living that out at the moment. I'm at the don't have the big marketing budget stage, and I'm very much investing in putting myself out there. Which for somebody that it's been 15 years or longer than that, firmly behind a camera, it's been quite a journey for me to do this and to kind of put myself out there, I guess. But I'm really, I already jump on calls and people are like, "Oh, you're the guy from LinkedIn." Like it's great, and it just builds that trust, that familiarity. They may even kind of like what you're saying, and that just really helps when it comes to the point of sales conversations.
Yeah, definitely. I think, yeah, you're the perfect example. So if you imagine if you put all of your effort into doing your marketing through the company as opposed to yourself, your personal brand, you arguably may not even have a business by now because it just wouldn't get the cut through. But because you're investing in yourself and getting yourself out there, it just resonates so well with people. And then, yeah, when you jump on calls with people and they just feel like they know you already. So there's a magic when the person that's doing the personal branding is also the salesperson, or the person that jumps on the discovery calls. So if your business relies heavily on inbound leads like mine and yours, it's very, very powerful for when the person jumps on the first discovery call and it's you, it's the guy that I've been following for ages, the guy whose content I like. I already feel like I trust you because I've consumed so much of your podcast, your videos, your LinkedIn posts. They're already like kind of bought in to a big extent, as opposed to them jumping on a call with a salesperson who they've never seen before, don't know who they are. There's now a whole lot of relationship building that needs to happen, which is challenging. It just gives you such a head start against your competitors, who are probably running the whole salesperson play. Whereas with you, they get to speak to the founder. They just feel that trust. Trust is so important when it comes to sales, and that's what you get with like personal branding.
100%. And it's already part of my plan that like the very last thing I would ever leave go of is like the sales side of things, or certainly the front end of the sales process, because I just love jumping on those calls and people, just continuing the conversation almost, people are already feel like, as you say, like they've already just come on the calls and they're like, I've seen loads of your posts. I love what you're talking about. That's why I'm here. And it shortens the sales cycles. It makes the whole process easier. And it's just, yeah, at the stage I'm at, I think it's great. But I also feel like in bigger companies, like an element of that can be applied, humanizing your brand, which we were kind of talking about before we hit record, but that can be so powerful in a fairly faceless brand, and starting to humanize it. Maybe it's founders appearing, or just even senior people that in a software company, just putting your like top engineers out there and talking about their world to an audience of peers, really. Like there's a really powerful play there where you're just putting out content that people really resonate with and really relate to the people.
Yeah, well, that's where I'm at now with the business. So we have a bit of a problem in the business at the moment in terms of the bottleneck of me. I'm still the person that does do these discovery calls. So we're at about 2.5 million in revenue now. And I can't be the guy that's doing all of the discovery calls with people, because we want to take the business to the next level. We want to scale to 5 million revenue plus. So therefore, there's going to be about, 5 discovery calls a day, if not more. So me, the founder, the CEO, can't be doing that anymore. So we now need to start, or we've already done it, is start to elevate the profiles of the employees in the business. because like I said earlier, I don't want a salesperson doing this role, because we do what's called consultative selling. So when somebody jumps on a discovery call, it's not just a sales pitch. It's not just, oh, we're great at marketing. We do LinkedIn ads, we do Google ads, we're great. It's tell me about your business and tell me about what you're currently doing with your marketing, what's going well, what's not going well. Let me give you some advice. Have you tried this? Have you tried that? What about this funnel idea? And so we're basically getting free consultation. So again, people start to think, well, these guys know what they're talking about. This is great advice I'm getting for free. Tell me more about you. How much do you cost? Let's maybe talk about working together. So that consultative selling is really powerful. Therefore, I can't hire a salesperson to do that, because they're not a marketing consultant. So we're kind of going at it the other direction. Is I'm getting a talented marketing person to do the discovery calls and just teaching them how to do a little bit of selling after they've done the consultation. So for example, Jess, one of our employees here, she's going to step into the role. She's going to continue being a great marketer, but she's going to start taking some of the calls with clients, doing that marketing consultation, and then doing a little bit of a sell at the end. But it's really important, like we described earlier, that people ideally know who Jess is before they jump on the call with her. So, how do we make that happen? It means we have to get Jess on the podcast. We have to get Jess doing video, have to get Jess doing some thought leadership on LinkedIn, pumping Jess's content with ads. So people start to see Rocket SaaS as not just Ryan James, that guy that owns it, that I see all over LinkedIn. It's, oh, yeah, I start to see all of his employees and he and her, they know what they're talking about. And you jump on a call with one of them. And again, you just have that familiarity. So suddenly I can step away from doing all of these calls, and I can elevate my team, which is amazing for them as well. It elevates their career, just adds more strength to their bow in terms of like experience with video and creating content, and even the sales as well. So yeah, we're at the stage now where we need to just elevate the employees as well. And video is a key part of that.
Amazing. And that kind of segues perfectly onto the next thing I wanted to ask you about, which was the building of the team. The audience of this podcast is kind of marketing leaders. I've watched your journey of kind of building a team, and we've talked about how you're attracting really talented people and rewarding them well to attract the best people. Tell me a little bit about that journey, if you could, and just some things you've learned about building that team, and what you kind of what you're looking for in people, and what you're, I guess, trying to build as a company. Like that's a perfect example of what you just said about, a marketer getting more involved in sales, but just that the whole, because you're kind of building an entire marketing team. It's kind of like a fractional marketing team. Is that fair? And like that's what some of the viewers of this would be trying to do also.
Yeah, so I can say that when I started out, say 13, 14 years ago, Upwork was brilliant for me. So there's other websites like Fiverr that have come out since then, but that's how I started, when I basically had very little money to employ like a UK person that comes at high salary. I was employing people, in Upwork, people like from say India, Pakistan, like kind of relatively low salary places that I could afford. So they would be like developing the websites, designing the websites, and then I just sort of slowly built up that team of people. So I probably got to about maybe 10 people working with me from Upwork from those different countries before I got my first UK employee, because I just couldn't afford the kind of UK employee salary. So that was amazing in terms of building my journey. So virtual assistants, people that could do admin, the finance side of things, and just the operational stuff. And then eventually employed like so many people that I suddenly was able to step away from the operational side of things. I didn't have to design the websites anymore and code the websites. So therefore I could focus on sales and marketing. And then it's no surprise when I started focusing on sales and marketing that the business started to scale. And then I was able to employ my first UK employee, a guy called Andrew. And he was amazing. And he was amazing because he was exactly what I needed at the time, my first employee, because he was a generalist. He was just very good at doing pretty much anything. Just chuck anything at him and he'd just get it done, work really hard, really efficient. And because the business was at a growth phase, there was all sorts of different things coming at him, but he just pulled up his socks, had a very positive attitude, and just got it all done. And that's kind of what you need. You need kind of a dog's body Swiss Army knife at the beginning. But then as the company scales, you don't want those people, because you struggle to fit them in. You don't really know what their role is. You need specialists. So as the company starts to grow, you start to break out the different functions of the business. Like I need a specialist person in operations, sales, marketing, finance, admin. They're like the main 5 functions of a business. So you need one person to kind of run each of those functions. And then as the business grows, each of those departments, that they need an assistant, someone that work with them. So that's kind of pretty much how I started off scaling it. And then we're now at the point, since Rocket SaaS has become a marketing agency, is that we're just really building a relatively big team now. And the way that I'm doing it is I've got about 50% of the people in London, and I've got about 50% of the people overseas. So the people in London are the sort of the marketing strategic people, the marketing content people, and the overseas team is the more technical side of things, like the ads managers, the web developers, those types of roles. And in terms of the people that we're looking for, is like culture means everything to me. So like culture, I kind of accidentally fell into the power of culture. I think I'm just like a nice guy. I just want to work with people that I like. So therefore, when I interview people, I was like, I just want to work with people that I get along with. I don't care if you're amazing at your job, if you're rude, or I just don't think I'm going to get along with you. Then I'm not interested. I want nice people. So that was just like a natural thing that came to me. And then as I started to do that and started to employ people that were just all really nice and got along really well with each other and had a really positive attitude, it suddenly clicked. I was like, oh, I'm getting a massive ROI on this. I'm getting a massive ROI on cultural investment because people are so happy here because they get along with each other, is one of the reasons, among many things. But people don't leave. So it's very, very rare that people leave Rocket SaaS. People, I don't think anyone's in the kind of 5 years we've been around, I don't think anyone's actually been headhunted and they've gone to a different company to get more money, or they've left because they're just like unhappy with the role. And therefore I'm getting zero client disruption. Because when the account manager leaves an account, you suddenly got like 8 clients that are pissed off because their main point of contact is gone. You've got to replace them. Hiring people is expensive and it takes time and it's annoying. Every business leader will tell you hiring is one of the most annoying things, and HR and people leaving and complaining and bringing problems to your desk. It's the people problem is so annoying when you get it wrong. If you have like a toxic culture and people are constantly leaving and complaining and raising issues, oh, I don't like Claire because she was horrible to me and blah, blah. That is just a nightmare. But because we employ culturally first, we don't get that. Touch words, as we scale more, it's probably going to become, it's going to creep in. But so far, we haven't had those problems. And I've just got a massive ROI on it because, I just don't have to kind of rehire, retrain, upset clients, etc. So, the cultural first hiring philosophy has been amazing. We go to the office 2 days a week. So it's very hard, I think, to build a culture when you're completely remote. A lot of people say you can do it. We tried it, didn't work. Culture fell on its ass when we went remote. So we're now back in the office 2 days a week. And when you've got a really strong cultural kind of mindset of employing and hiring people want to come to the office and they want to be with each other. So I think we've got a really, really good balance of the cultural side of things in the office.
Amazing. Employ great humans. That sounds like a wonderful approach. Do you ever, it's kind of slightly off track, but do you ever get the entire company together? Do you get the offshore folks together as well?
Not yet. That is my plan. That is what I want to do. So I'm trying to figure out the best way to do it. What the London team want is the London team want to go and see them. So,
yes, I've seen that. Yeah.
Everyone in the London team wants a holiday. Everyone in the London team wants to fly to South Africa, or we got a lot of the team in Eastern Europe. And I'd love that, but it would cost like 50 grand. So I just need to try and figure out it'd be much more affordable to fly the South African Eastern European team to London. Could definitely do that, but then the London team would be like, well, not much of a holiday.
Yeah, we're still in London. Yeah.
It's
funny.
so
I've seen both, and I work with loads of remote teams, and I've gone out to India in particular a number of times to kind of document remote teams and make films with them and interview them and photograph them in the past, and it's amazing to see that. But also I'm involved with I have clients now that have big teams in particularly India and other places, but they bring them all. They all come to Belfast, in fact, in one example, which is they do it 3 times a year as well. It's wild. But it is a great thing to kind of a moment, if you can.
Yeah, I'd love to do it. No, that is the plan for 2026, is to get everyone together. I've got this dream, this vision of the big photo of everybody, because the team is nearly up to 50 people now. And it'd
Wow,
be a real
really?
like dream come true for someone who I started the business in my bedroom from nothing. With, I think I had about $2,000 in the bank when I started the business. I've never taken on any investment. It's been totally bootstrapped. And my dream
Fabulous.
was always to have a business. For some reason, number 5 was in my mind. I was like, my dream was to have an agency of 5 people where I come into the
Yes.
office and wave to
You've
the other four,
overshot.
the other 4 people. Yeah, that was always my dream. I remember saying that to my mate in the pub about 15 years ago. And he was like, I think you can do it, Ryan. I think you can get a team of 5 people. And now we're up to almost 50. So I think
Amazing.
the moment that comes when we get everyone together and we do the big group photo of us all together, that'll be
Well,
a really special moment.
I have taken those group photos and corralled them all together, especially in growing teams. I can, even this year I've done it, and it's an amazing thing, honestly, getting together and even just having that moment and that record, even of that moment in the company. But it's if you can, I highly recommend it because I've been involved in it.
I've got quite a cool vision of an animated GIF. So I'd like the photographer to be like up high, so looking down on everybody. And I was thinking that I stand on my own in the middle and he takes the photo. And then my employee number 2 comes and stands next to me, takes another photo. Then employee number 3, 4, 5. So I have a list of when everybody joins. And then you put an animated GIF together of this is the growth of the company. Then the final
That would
photos
be
have with their hands in the
quite the
air.
LinkedIn post. I
Yeah, that'd
love
be
it.
cool. I would
And
love to do that.
and it would be an image rather than a video, so it'll go even further. That's fab, mate. Yeah, do it. Let's make it happen. I love it. Again, that kind of just neatly takes me on to another, my penultimate question. Just looking forward to 2026. Like I feel there's been a lot of change in the world in 2025 and in the marketing world, namely, the proliferation of AI obviously is the massive one. But what are your thoughts in the kind of the wider, I guess, B2B marketing world going into 2026? Like, what are you, are there new things you're going to try? What do you think is going to do you see is maybe going to happen more? What are your kind of bets, I guess, on 2026?
So it's not much of a bet. It's more of a philosophy about don't get distracted by all of the AI noise and tech and like all this technology. Oh, we can hack the algorithm and get you this, and we can do automated sales outbound with an AI agent, and we can blah blah blah. Because people are getting so distracted by all that noise at the moment, and I'm not one of those idiots that thinks AI is not happening and it's not changing. Of course it is, but people can get marketers and founders can get so distracted by the noise and trying to find the latest hack and the latest tool and technology. Like that stuff's great, but if the fundamentals of marketing are not there, your business will not scale. So if your messaging and positioning is poor, if your website is poor, if you're a SaaS business, for example, and you don't visually display the product very well, then that's if you don't do enough thought leadership content, if you don't do enough video, if you don't do enough webinars and potentially a podcast, if you don't do the kind of brand awareness piece, the personal branding, a lot of stuff we've already talked about today. If you don't do all those fundamental things well, you can have the best AI technologies and tools it's not going to work. You're going to be just it's just plastering over a wound that's just not going to heal. That's a bad analogy, but that is the fundamentals. Like so many businesses that I meet, particularly ones that are at kind of my stage, your stage, relatively early startup, scale up stage. Like I would probably say 49 out of 50 do not have decent marketing fundamentals. All those things that I just listed, like focus on getting those things right. New technology comes along all the time. When the internet came along, however many years ago that was, like it still doesn't change the fundamentals of marketing. Great content, understanding who you're targeting, hitting them with ads, building the traditional marketing sales funnel. That's still the same as it was 100 years ago. Focus on those fundamentals, get those things right, and then you can layer on the clever technology to hack the algorithms and do all the kind of the clay is a brilliant tool and the outbounding and all that stuff. But that's why I see this happening. The biggest problem that I see with businesses at the moment is they're trying to find the latest hack and tool and it's layering it on. It's just not working. And it's not working because the fundamentals are not there. So that's been my message for the last sort of like 6 months or so. And I will continue that into 2026.
I love that. And if I get one more like hyper personalized AI generated outbound sales email, like it's I just think it's a wild world now that the the kind of drivel that I'm that I get. That done badly is just really bad. And
Yeah, I mean, it's
there's so many good ways to do it, but I don't see many people doing it.
it's everyone is always looking for the shortcut. That's
Yeah.
everyone's been looking for the shortcut for decades and decades gone. Everyone's always looking for the shortcut, but those ones that are a bit more experienced know that the shortcuts rarely exist. The shortcut might work for like a few leads, but that's not how you grow a business sustainably. That, unfortunately, I'm very sorry to say that there are no shortcuts to this. It's showing up consistently, creating great content, having great messaging positioning, understanding who your ICP is, hitting them with ads consistently for a long time, and building those funnels. That's how you scale a business organically, and just continuous growth, rather than just trying to find these hacks and these shortcuts. It doesn't work like that, and it's hard, particularly if you're a marketer and you've got to say that to the CEO. A lot of CEOs and founders, they want the shortcut, they want marketing's magic wand to wave, but ideally, if you're a marketer, you've got an understanding founder or superior that you report into, and they can understand that, yeah, the fundamentals of our business are just pretty poor. We need to focus on this, and then start layering on all the clever stuff.
100%. Yeah. I mean, I see that all the time. Like, we're in the business of producing content that is all about that long-term play, and we end up in those conversations, and we sometimes fall foul to leadership that don't maybe totally get it, and that can be a real challenge. But I am totally in it for the long game, and I see all the value in that 100%. I did a post recently about like video DMs. I'm really big into video DMs, and just kind of humanizing that maybe initial message when you connect with somebody, or as a follow-up, and you just want to kind of really humanize that. And it's I do it in a really manual way, and it's super unscalable, and I love it. And then people, the responses I get from those things, man, are just unbelievable. It's showing the effort, the human effort, and not automating those really important parts, I think, is a wonderful way to go about it these days, and sets you apart, and it's certainly something I totally agree with. Just finally, can you tell me a little bit more about, like, you've kind of hinted about all the things that Rocket SaaS does for your customers, but yeah, tell me a little bit about like the full service, and what people could expect from Rocket SaaS.
Yeah, so we are a marketing agency for B2B SaaS companies. So we work with SaaS startups and early stage scale ups, and we particularly focus on companies that got limited marketing resources in-house. So they might have nobody in marketing and they're thinking of investing into marketing properly for the first time ever, or they might have a small marketing team that just needs to get more results. So we say, for roughly the same price as hiring a new in-house marketer, i.e. $5,000 a month, we'll give you a whole department of people. You get 7 people: a head of SaaS marketing strategy, LinkedIn ads expert, Google ads expert, content creator, designer, web developer, and a marketing exec. You'll get that whole team of 7 for the same price as one person. And then we do 5 things: strategy, content creation, managing the ad platforms like Google and LinkedIn, building lead magnet campaigns, and then website optimization. So it's a full service of SaaS marketing, just designed to generate inbound leads, essentially, and also support the sales team to get them more leads.
Amazing. You've done that before.
Like I said earlier, I'm still the sales guy. So,
once or twice.
yes, I have done that before.
It's really great. And where can viewers and listeners kind of find out about Rocket SaaS, and about can I connect with you as well?
Yeah, so the Rocket SaaS website is rocket-saas.io. You can check that out. It's relatively new, the website. I love it. There's an animated rocket ship that takes off on the homepage too. Yeah, that cost me about $4,500. So please check that out.
Totally worth it.
Not sure, but the cost just started spiraling. So check that out. And then me, you can find me on LinkedIn. Just search for Ryan James Rocket SaaS. I'm very active on there. And then the SaaS Marketing Weekly podcast. Yeah. So if you're listening to this podcast and you think that I know what I'm talking about when it comes to marketing, then check out the SaaS Marketing Weekly podcast in the usual places you'd expect to find it. But yeah, what we do is just try and teach marketers how to become better marketers, essentially. But also, if you're a founder, it's very valuable kind of marketing campaign ideas, tips, tricks, inspirational things. So yeah, those 3 channels.
Absolutely. No, it's great. And I'll link to all of those things. And I reinforce that the podcast and the accompanying newsletter are just full of gold for particularly, I think, for people kind of earlier in their marketing journey to learn all about demand gen and all the really practical stuff all around the processes of that and the reasons why you kind of go about that. It's really great. And look, this has been fabulous. Thank you so much for your time, Ryan. It's absolutely one I've been looking forward to, and it's been great chatting to you. Thank you.
Thank you, Chris. That means a lot. And yeah, look forward to listening to it.